Okay, everybody, welcome to assignment 5, completing your job shadow. I will tell you this is one of the two hardest assignments in senior project, this and the community service. And I say it's one of the hardest because it requires you to go outside of just working on a website. All the other pages, for the most part, are just researching or writing on your website. This one actually requires you to go out and find someone who does the job that you're interested in and interview them and work with them. Well, not necessarily work with them, but spend time at their job site. So in this video, I'm going to try to address several topics. So it might go a little long, depending on which segment you're looking for. But I'm going to try to cover what the job shadow is, and then later show you how you actually complete the web page. First, let's take a look at Google Classroom itself. There's going to be 4 things in this post. There's the instructions page. There's the video that you're watching right now. There's the job shadow questions. And then there's a little Q&A video that might answer some of the questions you have about job shadow. And again, you're always welcome to just ask me, but this is there for those who prefer to watch on their own. So let's start by taking a look at the instructions page. The overview of the job shadow is this. We want you to go out and spend some time with someone who does the career that you put on your career page. So if on your career page you wrote about how you want to be a teacher, you need to go out and job shadow a teacher. Spend a couple hours with them. Interview them with the questions that I've given you. If you want to be a police officer, you need to find a police officer, interview him or her, and spend a couple hours with them, if possible, talking about their job. You want to be a nurse or a cosmetologist, go find a nurse or a cosmetologist and spend some time talking to them about their job. Now, I understand there's some careers that are harder to find than others, and that they'll have some privacy restrictions and things like that. But nothing prevents you from being able to go sit with a nurse out in a waiting room. They're not going to take you back into the office with a patient or those kind of things, but you can find someone to do this job shadow with. I've yet to find someone who could not find a job shadow. We've always been able to find at least some kind of related field. For example, we had someone want to be Border Patrol one time. Well, we were able to set up an online job shadow with them, and then we found a local police officer who had spent some time doing that, and we helped them with those. We had someone want to be a pilot one time. Obviously, they're not going to be invited onto a plane, but we were able to set up an interview at the Modesto airport with them to interview a local pilot and talk about what the career's like. So think about who you might have access to. Photographs and video. You have to have photos of your job shadow. There are no exceptions. It can't be, well, they wouldn't let me take pictures. Well, then you better find someone else to job shadow. Because you have to have photographic evidence that you did this. And again, there'll be more discussion of that later in the other video. So let's take a look at the tasks. The first is actually completing the job shadow. The second is completing the website. So for completing the job shadow, again, I want you to go out and find someone who does this, spend some time and ask them these interview questions. This is posted in that Google Classroom post. You can add to these questions if there's other ones that you can think of. But the purpose here of these questions is, and the whole job shadow, I guess, is to make sure this is something you really want to pursue after you get out of high school. I'd hate for you to go to college and start working towards a career, and once you got there, find out, I really don't like this career. Why not find that out now? Save yourself some time and some money. So ask these questions and make sure you write down the answers or type in the answers if you take a Chromebook. Secondly, take pictures. As I said, these are a requirement on this web page. If you don't have pictures, you will not be allowed to present. It will be a failed page. As far as completing the website, I'm going to take some time now to explain to you how you do the website itself. And again, you can lay these out however you want. I'm simply going to show how I usually ask people to lay them out. So let's go to our blank page. What I've done is I've typed up all my responses in a separate Google Doc, kind of like I've talked to you about on the other pages. So for the top part, it said write a paragraph or two that talks about your experience. Okay. That's what I'm going to do here. It says, where did they go? Where you went for your job shadow, who you met with, and where you did it. Why you selected that person in that place, and how you feel about the job shadow now that you've done it, or the career, excuse me, now that you've done the job shadow. So I have that right up here. I'm going to copy it, create a text box, and paste it in. As usual, you want to get rid of any extra spacing. You want to make sure that you block the letters because that looks much more professional. And there my paragraphs are done. Next it says, type in the interview questions and the answers. Okay, I've got those on that separate page too. I took notes during my interview, and in my case, I interviewed Mr. Nobody. He's a fictitious history teacher at Jonesville High School. You don't get the luxury. You have to actually interview a real person. For the sake of this video, I faked it. So let's go over here. I'm going to insert another text box because I want to keep these separate. And boom, I've copied and pasted my interview in. Pretty simple. The last part here, insert as many images as I think are appropriate. Now, I didn't do a real job shadow, so I had to go out to the internet and fake my pictures. You guys don't, again, you don't get that luxury. Okay, you actually have to have the real pictures, including some of yourself there as part of this. So in this case, I'm going to insert some images that I've already selected from the internet. Some of you may recognize these scenes. This is from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and then some other random pictures that I picked. But these are the pictures I took of my job shadow. And again, if you want to take the time to explain these to your viewers, you can. During the presentation, you're encouraged to. There's also some other things that you can do in here. You can add captions and those kind of things to some pictures. But I'd advise you just kind of drop them in. Make them look professional. In this case, it's a picture of the teacher, some of the students who are obviously super excited, a picture of their break room, a picture of their copy room. You know, depending on your career, it might be different. If you're going to be, let's say, like a police officer, it might be a picture of their car. It might be a picture of some of the equipment they work with. If you're interviewing a doctor, it might be a picture of an empty patient's room or a picture of the lobby. You know, it all depends on your career. If you're doing construction, you can get pictures of the construction site where you work, pictures of the tools. I highly advise you guys just to go look through some of the old websites that I have linked up. Look at some of the pictures they have of their job shadows, especially if you see one that's the same career as yours. Might give you some inspiration about what you can do. And I tell you, start on this early because we've had students do some really, really cool job shadows in the past. I know one student several years ago wanted to be a canine officer. As part of his job shadow, he got to wear the canine suit and let the dog chase after him, which might sound scary, but he was pumped. He was super excited to do it. Like I say, I had someone who wanted to be a pilot in the past. They went to the airport and interviewed one of the pilots and got some really cool footage outside of, like, by the hangar and by a plane. So if you start on these things early, you have the advantages of this. Okay, let's go back to our instructions page here. It says insert an appropriate header image. That's our last step. Well, again, just like on the other ones, we're going to go up here and select a header image. You can type this on here. I'm going to search for this sake, classroom. See if we can get a classroom one. Something like this will work. There you go. Now I've got an appropriate header image because in this case I want to be a teacher, so this works pretty well. Let's see if there's anything else. Optional, consider a YouTube video of your interview. We have had students in the past interview someone and videotape it and then upload that onto their website. It's always pretty cool. So let's go down to our final checklist. I wrote my paragraph. Actually, I wrote two. I listed all the questions and answers from the interview. I added the images. I checked to make sure there's no spelling and grammar errors. I did that before when it was on the Google Doc. I added the header image. And now you would just need to go into Google Classroom and mark the assignment done. Now, keep in mind you can still go in here and play with some of these colorings in the background to separate this out so you can see the difference between the two as you go down. It's all completely up to you. Okay, but as long as I see the content is there, that's what's really important. And I will always continue to emphasize pictures, pictures, pictures. Gotta have them. Okay? Again, my advice to you is before you start your job shadow, reach out to me and clear it first. Okay, this will be in one of the other videos that talks about this, but if you're going to do a job shadow, it's a good idea to ask me if it's an appropriate one first. And some examples of that is I've had people say they want to be musicians. And then I find out that their job shadow is them interviewing their friends on an iMac or an Apple computer in their bedroom. And they make songs and they're supposed to claim that they want to be musicians. Well, that doesn't quite work. I'd rather you go out and job shadow someone who does, let's say, a wedding event, a DJ. Or if you want to produce music, go interview a music professor or someone along those lines at MJC. That's usually what I encourage. So again, clear your job shadow with me first so that you make sure that when you're done, it actually counts. Because if it's something silly, we're going to say, nope, go do it again. All right. Okay. Hopefully that helps you guys with the job shadow page. I know this was one of the longer videos, but I wanted to address it because it's also one of the topics that students are usually the most confused about. So I encourage you to watch this video, watch the other video, read through the documents, and then if you need more help, please reach out to me. I'm always willing to offer help. So thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.